Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. For today, well, as you can see here, I'm starting to get things put back together for recording these shows and keeping the ball rolling here. And, well, unfortunately, my little co host for tonight seems to have drifted off to sleep. Uh, she's a little bit out of it right now, but that's okay. Hi, Nora. Well, at any rate, for today's episode, today's just going to be kind of a quick one. It's uh, it's just a quick addendum that I wanted to throw in on the whole diversifying antagonists issue that I talked about across two episodes so far. And what sparked this for me was I watched Luke Cage season 2 on Netflix. If you haven't seen it yet, please stop the video now. There's going to be some spoilers coming up. Go and watch it first and then come back and give this a watch. Um, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it is towards the end of season 2, we see Mariah Stokes really fully come into her own and just fully accept herself and her role as a mob boss, a gangster. And she just goes to town and has a bunch of innocent people butchered. Now, and she does it just stone cold, just wastes a bunch of people, sets a dude on fire, and then just complains about him not dying fast enough and shoots him point blank. And to contrast this, Shades, who has been just ruthless the whole way through, killing people left and right, we see the actor does a beautiful job putting it across just how horrified this stone cold killer is. And this is a figure we've watched for over for 2 seasons now, go through no problem fighting and killing, and him killing at a moment's notice. But as he puts it later on in a few following episodes, he says there's rules to this shit, and it just really accentuates the differences that I've been talking about between villains. Most villains are not going to be mad dog rabbit killers. They're not going to be comfortable butchering every single person in the room and doing some awful, heinous things to people. I mean, if it's somebody that's putting up a fight or somebody that needs to go, like, a witness, that's one thing. That's covering your ass. There's a purpose to it all, there's a reason for it. What Mariah did was over the top and unnecessary. They wanted to send a message and have leverage, sue her, by capturing Bushmaster's uncle. But she went and torched Bushmaster's uncle and killed a whole bunch of people, innocent people, in the restaurant that had nothing to do with the situation overall. And that's what set Shades off. That's what you see it visibly affect him throughout the later episodes when he goes to kill the surviving witness from the massacre at the cafe. It He's unable to go through with it. He just shakes as he just relives and remembers that moment where he and the rest of Mariah's gang gunned down all those people. Mariah, though, it wasn't anything but a thought passing through her head. It She lost no sleep over it. She really totally embraced her insanity and her inhumanity. And I guess maybe it's sort of a cop out to just call it flat out insanity, but it was really inhuman what she had done. And by putting those two different types of villains together, it contrasts just how horrifying and scary Mariah Stokes has become over the course of these 2 seasons. And it's been a logical, bit by bit, episode by episode progression. It wasn't anything instant or overnight. She didn't start off this raving mad dog killer willing to butcher everyone in a room. It took time, and it took time to build up, and it wasn't and I shouldn't call it raving or mad dog killer. It was methodical. It was calculated, and she did it without blinking, and she got her gang to do it without blinking. And then she follows through with it and starts putting everybody who was witness to the crime in the ground. Anybody tied to her gang or any of her illicit activities just kind of went away. And again, this is just to, I'm just putting this video together here to emphasize why it's important to have these different types of villains, because most of them, yeah, they are willing to do awful things and they're capable of awful things, but they're not going to go to the utmost extremes of violence, and they're not going to do it to just random innocent people, even if it's a calculated maneuver. It's going to take something really unique and somebody really terrifying and so horrifyingly detached from just even basic human emotion, thought, rationale, and attachment to be able to take a look at a room of people and go, yeah, kill them all. Um, and it, again, it just serves a better narrative to have that. I mean, it gets to the point that Shades just gives up and goes to the cops and is willing to confess everything to make sure Mariah is put behind bars. That's how done with all of this he is after having to go through with that. And again, when you're putting together your campaigns and your various story arcs and you're developing these various villains and obstacles that you're planning on putting in your player's way, take a moment to give some thought to just how ruthless and how willing to just butcher and kill they really are. I mean, how terrifying and how scary you make them is just going to kind of depend a little bit on what you're comfortable with portraying and what your players are comfortable with experiencing. But if you make every single person like Mariah Stokes towards the end of season 2 of Luke Cage, then it's going to stop having an impact. It's going to lose its flavor and its effect on the players, and it's going to make your stories that much more boring as they get repetitive and the villains become predictable. They need to have a range of believable emotions in order to keep the story realistic and immersive and prevent your players from being jerked out of what's going on. Now, there's nothing wrong with throwing that out there every once in a while, or if you're doing a campaign, like I said, with where you're using absolutely inhuman monsters as the villains, like demons, devils, aberrations, or even undead creatures. Um, you can get away with that a little bit more because it only makes sense in that context to have that kind of willingness and ability to follow through and just kill. Um, Again, another way you can contrast this is take Thanos, for example, from Avengers Infinity War. Again, spoilers, if you haven't seen this yet, wait to see it, then finish this episode. You've been warned now. Thanos is absolutely willing to kill, but you see it still has an effect and a toll on him, like when he goes to kill Gamora in order to obtain one of the Infinity Stones. It weighs on him, it breaks him, but it doesn't break his will, his desire to pursue his goal of saving the universe, at least through the methods he sees as saving the universe. He's willing to kill and sacrifice someone he loves and regards as a daughter in order to achieve this goal. And it has an impact on him, it affects him. And it's something that's definitely going to end up coming into play in the third Avengers movie. It's going to come up, and it is certainly going to be used to effect. I'm guessing it's probably part of the victory conditions that Doctor Strange saw when he was using his Infinity Stone to glimpse into the future. But that's a story for another time, possibly. My point is, overall, look at these various examples and use these to craft and create better villains, a better range of villains with a variety of motivations and different limitations on what it is they're willing to do. Some villains are perfectly comfortable with killing, but only if the other person has some kind of a chance or is in that kind of a role where it's kill or be killed. Like a particular villain may be fine with killing soldiers, town guard, even militiamen, but will balk at killing the weak, the infirm, women and children, unarmed women and children, non combatant characters. and that's perfect. That presents an interesting villain. It presents a villain. He's This particular villain is ruthless and cunning and absolutely deadly, but has a certain amount of morals and principles there that the players can identify with and even have a certain amount of respect for. And you can use that to kind of play and make better and more interesting stories as these characters interact with this villain that you've put together, especially if this is a villain that's going to be operating across multiple adventures, maybe even multiple story arcs if you're going to have them be a recurring character. Then you can have other villains that are perfectly willing to steal, sabotage, or even poison, but they're really uncomfortable and squeamish about killing in person. They don't feel comfortable even if it's totally by stealth and there's no confrontation. Maybe they're squeamish about actually sticking the blade between the ribs themselves. um, Again, it just makes things that much more interesting and that much more unique when you put this level of thought and detail in towards these villains. Anyways, that's enough yammering for me for now. You folks have yourselves a good night, enjoy the day and the weekend, and I'll see you around next time on the next episode of Making Better Campaigns here on the Gamers Den. Also, be on the lookout. I'm just about finished writing up some scripts for initial episodes on making better player characters for all you different people out there that are playing in all these campaigns that us DMs and storytellers are working so damned hard to try to put together for you. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I kind of like to see at the table, not just in the characters that are put together. I'm pretty open with that, but what I like to see and work with as far as my players go, certain behaviors that I think are pretty universal at the table. Anyways, if you like this video and you like the content that I'm pumping out here for you, hit the like and maybe even give me a subscribe if you're enjoying it so far. If you do, make sure you click that bell icon so that way you get notified the next time I upload content here on this channel. Thank you all for your time. I have been your host, Jordan, Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. You all have yourselves a good night, and good night from my little co-host and co-pilot here as well. We'll see you folks around.